Campbells Comments, joined now by Mark Barton. Firstly, Barto, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Weather's out. I see you've got the short sleeves on. I actually have the short sleeves on as well, but I don't have one of the Green Company shirts.
Mate, to be honest, I've ducked back up and tidied up. I've had my wife, we've got 1,100 cherry trees, so we've been in the middle of winter pruning, so she's had me down at the trees up until about 20 minutes ago, so I just pulled a shirt on to look a bit tidier.
You've done it. You've done a good job. I wear many hats, and I'm more than happy to turn around and say that Nutrien actually sponsor me, so there's no problems there at all. But we're just going to have a bit of a chat, I suppose, about the changing landscape and sales shake-up that's happened recently off the back of APG's recent announcements, and they were big. They openly said themselves it was 33 years in the making, and the likes. How do Nutrien see big announcements like that, firstly?
Oh, look, no, it's significant what these guys have done. And like you say, they've got the benefit of being in the market for 30-odd years and understanding. One of the things we've had to learn is racing. We understand marketing and livestock, but understanding how the racing piece fits in with that. We understand how we've incentivised some of our other performance horses with sale incentives. So we think it's good. I think what it probably spells most, mate, is the benefit of competition in any market. I think that's the winner is going to genuinely be the industry, and certainly the vendor. In this case, the horses are there for buyers, but vendors with choice. And if you've got enthusiasm and a positive competitive influence, I can only say positive. But no, I think it's certainly we don't open till the end of August. We pushed it back. And we'll come out in the next week with exactly where we're up to. But no, it's an exciting time for the industry.
Stake money, as you said then, and from your background with performance horses, they come back to their drafts and compete in that manner. It is a different field. It must have been daunting, I would imagine, initially when they put up $3 million in stake money as well, and you must have gone, wow, how can we compete with this? But the reality is you actually can't in your first year in business in a new field try and even remotely try to compete with it.
Yeah, look, the important thing for us is we want to be sustainable. I think all the things we've learned in the last year, and the feedback from not just breeders of horses, but buyers of horses. Are you guys long term? Are you committed to just selling yearlings, or are you committed to the wider market? And we certainly we've enjoyed our first year. We've learned a lot, and we want to be in the business long term. I know what the yearling market is now. Like, I know what the size of the market is, and if you can earn the respect of the breeders to be able to stand over a percentage of that market. We'll continue to grow our prize pool, but we'll do it incrementally and we'll do it sustainably. And we've got some exciting ideas for this next crop of yearlings. It won't be the $400,000 race in our first year or our second year, but we think we're going to have some steady growth. And just feedback, 3-year-olds, a lot of people don't take that away, which is something we'll continue to focus on. And as time goes on, really like the idea of trying to grow something into our 4-year-old races, particularly in fillies. There's people saying, look, if you can get more black type performance in mares and give mares, particularly, I was surprised at how few Group 1 races there are for mares once they hit 4 years of age in the sport.
Absolutely, and especially the pacing ranks, they go over. Just quickly, we spoke about this just prior to hitting record. The vendor incentives, you're always open, for change, and you're always open to looking at different things. You're impressed by that? You think that's just, it's a really good idea, and you're definitely looking at it?
Yeah, look, mate, I said that off air. Give credit where credit's due. I think that the feedback across the industry, I think that's something really worthwhile. We do that in a really small way with our performance horses. Off the back of this, one thing we haven't got a pot of gold. Like, it doesn't. I wish I had a golden goose, but then you wonder how dangerous that'd be long term as well. So we want the industry to have great prize pools. We also look at vendors attracting the right horses attracts the right buyers. There's no doubt it's chicken and egg scenario. But we want to. Our team said, look, we want to try and grow our prize pool or maintain prize pool for next year with our sale catalogue. But that's something we've certainly already had discussions in a broader sense it's a good initiative. It's actually a great initiative. And how do we make sure we do something not necessarily to copy, but something that recognises vendors in some way? So we'll certainly take that on board, and hopefully this time next year we're talking about what we're doing for 2024.
Yeah, and you say about not copying and all the rest. It's been, in one way, it's been made aware. I have plenty of people copy what I do. I don't think I was always the first person to do what I do either. I probably copied it off someone else. So that actually happens. When we're at the sales complex, I know the guys at William Inglis, they just shook their head with the way you guys did things. They said, "Oh, we've never done anything like this." I wear plenty of hats. The guys at NZB said this, banking in, making sure everyone's horses are put into the stalls and all the rest. They shook their head. They said, "Geez, we don't need that over here in New Zealand because it's a lot of work." That's what competition does, though. It opens people's eyes and they see what they have to do and a standard that they must lift up to.
Look, I think your catchphrases and slogans are pretty. Yeah, they're cliche, and I suppose it's a marketing team that we've got a great one behind us. Your Tomorrow Begins Today was the branding behind last year's introduction to this industry, and I think this year it's funny we didn't go to our marketing team. It was from within the smaller group of people, and just said, look, the feedback is the Nutrien experience. What people did, the way we make people feel. Mate, that's not a put on. That's actually who we are, and that is how we actually conduct our business. My biggest challenge for next year, honestly, mate, we've got a $10+ million sale in early Feb, and every staff member that came to Melbourne this year want to do Sydney and Melbourne next year, plus Tamworth, plus Stockhorse Nationals, plus Toowoomba. And I said my biggest challenge is going to be burnout, or how I'm going to try and keep all these guys, working them through the business. And not one of those staff are asked to come. They all put their hand up and want to be part of it. So the Nutrien experience, it's probably who we are, and I guess it is a point of difference. We are resourced with competent and very well qualified people when it comes to livestock marketing.
It's one of the great photos that just circulated just recently too, is the whole team there at Nutrien at the William Inglis Sales Complex. There might have been a Where's Wally moment. I actually asked where I was in that photo. No one could find me. I'm not officially on the payroll. I could tell a funny story about walking in with this jacket one day, but we won't go there. Lots of feedback, and you constantly get feedback about what to do and all the rest. Your website, talking with Emyo, the website and building the website and changing it is key, and it's not far off being released, the new website. I think Em's working on the front end. She said, I'd hate to be working at the back end, but there's a lot going on behind the back of the scenes with the website to make it streamlined for the standardbred people.
Yeah, definitely. And look, and that's again, the way people enter horses and our links through to the stock horse and quarter horse pedigrees, their stud books, that was already done. We're also working with Rise. They've been very helpful in the way that we can actually capture data and do that. So we're trying to integrate the three breed stud books now. There's Australian stock horse, Australian quarter horse, and the Australian standardbred stud books effectively, so that we can capture that data. Also, as you'd be well aware, once you start to get some of your mare pedigrees in your own database, it can self-populate, make just that process of entry a lot easier for vendors. That's why we also pushed it back to one of the things that people said, look, there was quite a protracted marketing campaign last year, which part of that, let's not kid, that was a branding one for us to get our own brand out there. But people said, look, a little bit later to put our horses in, takes a bit of pressure off. We're not under the pressure to have to make a decision. We'll still meet our timelines. We'll have entries open end of August. We'll have entries close, towards the end of September. People will have proofed their catalogue by their pedigree page by the end of October. We want to have catalogues out there in the marketplace by the third week in November, so we get them out in the market and in the post a week before last year, because that Christmas mail and particularly a COVID mail system was quite a challenge for us to get catalogues to people before Christmas. It
was actually a challenge for everyone. With your website, and you said there before about Rise, and I'm glad that they are going to be supporting you as well, because I think you need to have the support from that point. Auctions Plus and your online auctions and the rest, that is actually going to be streamlined into this website as well, so that, and they both can work together to put a better product out there. You've copped a bit of criticism, you're aware of it, but
Yep.
you're definitely going to try and change that up.
Yeah, and look, like I've said to people, we have a system which it is multifaceted. Mate, no secret, it's bread and butter is the livestock sales. It's sheep and cattle business. It does a lot of seed stock, stud bulls, stud sheep, and that seed stock space, or that elite animal is that platform where the equine space is. With all of the horses we sell and some of the other things like working dog sales and other things that it does, they've done a lot of work on those high end, that specialty market. They've looked at the way other sites work, and I've said that to the feedback that we've got. Look, we are doing a little bit different. We won't close our page incrementally, lot by lot. I understand the industry is used to that. We see some benefits, and I'm one that if lot 5 gets outbid, you can go back to lot 1 if that's your next best choice. We'll continue with that, but we'll fail fast. We've said to our guys, we own 50% of Auctions Plus. You guys have got to deliver a product that our customers want in this space. Otherwise, we'll find alternatives. We've got no choice. We're not going to be arrogant. We've got to fix it. But I think stage 2 will be better than stage 1. And I'd hope by the back end of this next 12 months, between now and next autumn, I'd hope we've nailed it.
It is a funny one. I did an interview with Juanita Breen. You can find that on Campbell's Comments there. And I actually asked her how she found the online bidding, and because she bought a horse through the online sale, and she had no worries because she actually said she's bought stock, she's bought lots of other stuff through that. It's just people actually getting used to it. But instead of you guys turning around saying, well, they just got to get used to it, you're actually trying to work a little bit back with the people and then back to Auctions Plus. And that's key to growing an industry and a base.
And one thing we found, which was interesting, in the performance horse market, most people have had a livestock experience. In the standardbred market, the people that knew or had already had a sign-on or a login had actually used the clearing sale process. They'd actually bought goods and chattels or something off a clearing sale online. So the processes are the same. It's very regional agribusiness focused. So they're 90%, 95% of the staff in Auctions Plus all come from a rural background. So they understand that not everyone's computer literate. They understand line speed, and we've got to be able to cater for that market. But yeah, we'll get there, mate, for sure.
Right, online sales, spring sale coming up. The girls love giving everything. Winter woolies, spring sale. I think they could have come up with something a little bit better, but that's okay. We'll let them work at it. But you've made a commitment with the online sales, and you're going to commit to for a year, basically.
Yeah, look, the feedback was that we could have a sale at the first weekend of every change of season. So, first weekend in September for spring, then obviously we'll do that again in summer, autumn and winter. Probably the key thing to this catalogue, anyone that has a weaner/yearling coming into this catalogue, which will open for the first weekend in September, if you choose to, by the end of April with our April Melbourne yearling sales, you can pay those horses up and sustain for the Nutrien yearling incentives. So we've agreed the game. That was feedback. Some of the guys at my stable can't hold all the weanlings I've got as yearlings to prep. Would you consider doing that? And I said, look, I'm open again. Look at what the industry asks, so we are going to try that. We don't expect there to be thousands. We could have a dozen or 15 good weanlings/yearlings in it. And if someone gets that horse home and wants to pay up for the pacing or the trotting incentives, we'll give them until the same closing time as the horses that sell at the Melbourne sale on the 3rd of April next year. So it gives them time, get them home, grow them up, take their time, and we'll happily take those horses in.
It's a very different thing too, because as I say, where other hats the guys in New Zealand, they have weanling sales, and the two biggest studs over there, Alabar and Nutrien Woodlands, both wear the green. They sell a large majority of weanlings through that sale. Exactly off what you just said. They cannot put them all through a yearling sale. They physically cannot. They just the sheer numbers that they put through. And I was there for the weanling sales in New Zealand and Cracker, and it's a different world, but it's something that Australia could really embrace.
Yeah, look, again, like if you said, look, potentially next winter in June, maybe that is something where the weanlings we do push that a little bit harder, and I think exactly that. We've got some large operations. And also some small operations where people say, look, I just want to take 2 to the sales, but I breed 3 or 4. I keep 1, I sell 1, and I take 2 through as yearlings. But we'll offer that up. We'll do it every quarter. It's about, again, when we first came into this business, people said, don't just be seen as a cherry picker taking the cream of those top end yearlings and trying to just bank a check. We don't look to make a big margin out of these sales, but it grows your customer but client base. It puts you in touch with more buyers, and as time goes on, I think we're becoming hopefully more a part of it. Like I said that to someone 8-9 months ago. In 3 years, we want Nutrien to be felt like an old brand in harness racing and in the standardbred market. That it's an old, comfortable brand that people say, look, it stands for the right things and it means something. Not just a sales company that sell yearlings. We'll do that, and are ready to run. I think that's what we said before we started, mate. I think your business and our business came together because of necessity with COVID for our last run at the Ready to Run sale. So we'll do that again too for November.
And that's in November?
Yes, mate. Yeah, we'll open up. We'll get entries out there and expressions of interest in September. Everyone tells me probably only want a fortnight. Run them up a fortnight before you sell them. Interesting, we've had a few phone calls from owners or trainers just in this last week, mate. Are you coming out with something? Because as you know better than me, like planning a young horse's prep to be ready so that they are right for that type of sale starts now. So we'll have that again. I'd hope we might see a few of the yearlings that were sold at Melbourne in April might actually come back through potentially. I know a few guys looked at potentially doing that, and I think it's a really interesting market. It's probably one we hung our hat on is probably Let Us Trot there a couple of weeks ago. We saw a 10 in America that won I think about a $30,000 race, and he's won a couple. Ricky Alcham was quick to tell me that Lochinvar Art and Let Us Trot are both two that he's done it, Ready to Run. So put the pressure back on Ricky to find me a third one that he can hang his hat on for next year. And he's a great supporter of Nutrien too. Ricky is. Just while we're on, the spring sales with weanlings and even the Ready to Run, pin hooking and the likes. It can be a dirty word. It can be a nice word, whichever way you want. Can you see a huge influx, say, of New Zealand horses trying to come over to the Nutrien sale, or is that something that you can see happening, or is it even on the radar, or is it something you guys want to just continue with the Australian stock and do it that way? Look, I think it's a transparent market. If you leave that market to market forces, I'm a big believer in that. Like we see a lot in the performance horse, import horses out of the States and genetics out of the US that have an impact. But mate, we said last year, if you bought a New Zealand horse over here, we'd take it as a yearling. There was only a couple that came over. And when you look at the net margin, by the time you get those horses out here, is one. But, mate, one thing I know, talking to, the likes of Campbells and some of the New Zealand guys, their numbers are down this year. Like they haven't got the biggest group of yearlings to offer this year. So I think that creates demand in that New Zealand market. Because of market forces, supply and demand. I think there's some fantastic genetics over there, and I think it's important that the Australian market recognise those horses, but we want to be as good as anything that's put at us in the world. Any horse that turns up in Australia. But look, we certainly don't go out there canvassing for it. If someone pinhooks a horse, like you say, some of those weanlings, and wants to bring one across, we saw one or two in our sales this year. And I think it's exciting. A clear, clean, transparent market. I think it's the best. It's an honest market's the best market for people to buy with confidence.
Absolutely, and like and this is a Nutrien thing, but the guys at NZB, they put me on to Martin Pearson. We did a conversation with him about the sire stakes and how it works. And there's been a vastly larger sum of Australian bred horses paid up for the New Zealand sire stakes, off the back of the Golden Goddess colt of Craig Judd's, or Ben Stud, that they sold at your sale, attracting buyers who like racing horses in New Zealand here in Australia. So I think it's a different field, and a lot of people may not have their head around it, but it is a reality that there are people out there definitely saw merit in what happened and can see merit in paying up for horses for the New Zealand sire stakes. If people take it up, they take it up. If they don't, they don't.
Well, I think that's exactly the point. For us to have some recognised buyers out of New Zealand at Melbourne at our sale this year that's exciting. It creates hype. The other thing is we're the same people. We want the same things they do. We want a great racehorse. We want something that's affordable. A lot of quality horses are brought back to Australia by Australian buyers out of the New Zealand market. And I think what happens, each way is great. I think the fact that people are paying them up is good. I think what I'm excited about is that follow-up where we will find out how that Golden Goddess colt, how he broke in, how he preps up, and they're the sort of things that I guess this year we're looking forward to.
I'll put my hand up. I'll go over and find out for you. Okay, it's fine. I'll jump on the plane and go and see the boys over there. They looked after me sensationally, so there's no problems there. It's not about them though. Cam Bray will be getting a big head. He won't be able to get off the desk in a minute. That's for sure. We'll get to your sales. There's a few more questions afterwards and a couple of other things going forward. But the sales going forward, there's been a couple of key announcements. I can actually change hat too, I reckon, but I'll let you go through most of those. But you have it's actually the wrong hat, but it's as close as I've got to the right one. But we'll stay on with the trotters. So for the 2023 season, racing season, so effectively the yearlings that were bought this year as 3-year-olds and in the trotting ranks, they're going to be racing for terrific money. But the 2-year-olds look like similar sort of feat happening now as well in that 2023 season. So yearlings that haven't been sold yet going through the sales.
Yeah, look, and the process, we will be bringing the race series back to Melbourne in 2023. So the babies we sell at Sydney and Melbourne this year will come back as 2-year-olds to Melbourne in 2023. And look, we've been in conversation with the team at Harness Racing Victoria about what we'd like to put forward. The process, we get it ratified by their board, exactly what we've got to put up. Obviously, we underwrite what we're going to go out and promote. As we did last year, those babies that will come back as 3-year-olds, the trotting gate is 125,000 3-year-old trotting filly, 125,000 3-year-old trotting colt. We're looking to just confirm that we'll replicate that for this next batch of babies. Yabby Dam, Harazda Trotters, the Driscoll team have supported us again with those 3-year-olds, but the 2-year-old mixed sex trot at Sydney this year for 2-year-olds, Pat's put forward a proposal that would ensure that the 2-year-olds, when they come to Melbourne, so this next batch of trotting yearlings, would actually go for a filly Group 1 and a colt/gelding Group 1 race. So we've got that with Harness Racing Victoria to just we're putting forward an increase in that trotting 2-year-old, but we want to maintain all those other races. Obviously, the 3-year-old paces are 100,000 Group 1 races for pacing fillies and pacing colts, and 3-year-old trotting fillies and colts 125. But we're looking to take that 2-year-old trotting gate, break it out to mixed sex, and make them group status, Group 1 status. So we put that forward, and as soon as we get that ratified, we'll announce that officially. But also maintaining a $175,000 Group 1, the pacing fillies and pacing colts.
And I think that's key. And I think Harazda Trotter, as you can see, it's a Yabby Dam Farm hat that I've got on. I actually need some light turned on. I'm not sure where the daughter is. I was thinking she might have been covered in, but she hasn't. It is getting dark in here. But Pat backing it, and not only backing it financially, but he's also backing it with numbers, and he's prepared to sell. He took a hit on quite a few horses last year. When you get people like him backing you is key. And there's a few other murmurings behind the scenes of people trying to help out and back what you guys are doing.
Yeah, look, again, it gets back to competition. I guess for us, once we get this ratified, we're looking at 2023 in our second year, that we can generate a race series that's going to be, we're looking at 8 Group 1 races in 2023 and over $900,000 worth of prize money, and that's up on $400,000 our first year. So it's something that it's a daunting task when you have to go out there and underwrite it. It's also when your first year, how many we're going to sell, what are they going to average, what percentage of people sustain. There's a lot of what ifs and a lot of you're always gambling on what's going to happen next. So we'll take a calculated but a positive approach to it, not an aggressive approach, because we want to be sustainable and we want to be sensible for our sake as well as the industry's sake. Yeah, and sensible is the key. So with the paces, there is the commitment to try and continue to grow, but you're going to grow it. Just hang on one sec, but turn the middle light on for me, Dom. I'm directing traffic here. Thank you very much. People can actually see, they can now see the light, so that's fine.
the commitment with the paces and growing the paces as well. Again, APG, they've really upped the ante this year. $2.3 million in prize money guaranteed, and that. But you guys definitely want to raise the prize money, but you've got to do it calculated, structured, and as you can.
And look, mate, we sell in two markets. We sold in one. We're about to sell in a second. So that's part of the process. We also you look at, I guess, where we're focusing. The feedback, we're lucky to get our survey in there over a month ago now, but gave us really positive feedback on some areas that we could improve. Some really strong feedback on race series. Maintain that 3-year-old focus. Look to 4-year-old focus. And like I was saying, that idea of coming up with something particularly for the 4-year-old mare so that we can get black type in those. So we'll continue to listen to people. And mate, we'll keep growing. Whatever. Yeah, I think being commercial, that's probably one of our strengths. We are a commercial beast, and we want to make sure that there's a bottom line margin in it for people that participate, breeders particularly, but also the people that invest. You talk to those guys, and a lot of the trainers' feedback is, mate, this is great. I want a horse out of every sale because there's more money to chase. But it's not just that. I know one trainer's comment was, mate, I've still got to go and buy the best horse I can, because those free-for-all horses, or lucky enough if you ever can get a Grand Circuit horse, when those horses do well, and that's what they said, look, those horses actually draw in those other 10 or 15 horses into your stable that actually pay your bills. So there's a lot more to buying that than just your race series. They said, look, don't run away with yourselves. It's important, but the wider industry is way more important that we buy the best horse.
Yeah, and I think that's key. And I think it was one of the questions that was asked recently. There's the new strategic plan announced by HRV, and one of the things that the questions that was either Adam Hamilton or Robbie Orber, I'm not sure which one of them fired it through, but was the sustainability of two sales in the playing field, if you like. But you guys are a business, so the sustainability of whether there is or not in harness racing actually comes back to the way you guys want to run your business model, how you want to perceive it, and how it is actually going to work. So I hope that HRV are talking to you, and I hope they're you're in good dialogue and the likes, and I hope Harness Racing New South Wales, I think HRA are, because you are a new player to the field. But am I right in saying that you guys will run your business your way? You're in it for the long run, though?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the things, mate, as you know, we put a lot of the margin made out of our performance horse market this last 12 months is what's actually paying for the upgrade of our website. And a software upgrade, like it's not tens of thousands, it's hundreds of thousands to rebuild a program like that. So we've done that. Now, we wouldn't have needed to do that if we're only going to be in performance horse. We want to be in both. You don't make those sort of 5-figure commitments if you don't see a 5 and 10 year program. The idea of a ready to run those online sales, we've learned a heap out of this Standardbred market, that we're actually changing up some stuff we're doing in the performance horse market, which is really positive for us too. I think there's other things that we bring to the table for industry that's not just about sales. I think there's other relationships out there that we can hopefully lend ourselves to and leverage off. But more importantly, we're actually enjoying the people we're dealing with. They're very similar to the other customers that we've got, and we like that. I think the market of yearlings only, mate, you don't have to be a scholar. It's a $12 to $15 million Australian yearling market. If you look at the total value of that last year, and then take out the 10% of horses that don't show up, and the 80-odd% clearances that are normally there, and work those numbers out. If you've got a $12 million market and the agent's entitled to take 7% out of that to run their business, and there's two parties trying to earn a basic margin out of that, you've got to be lean. You've got to be careful the way you spend it. If you look at high value staff, we've got some really quality people in our team. We've got the benefit of being able to spread that cost over a performance horse market that we're really proud of. So it's you do the numbers, and you look at the draw of sponsorship and your draw of sustaining fees. It's not hard off the back of an envelope to see what the potential is for the total market and the total racing pool, or sustained races. Like if you look at just futurity racing, non-sale racing, just futurity racing, it's massive, and it's not about the sales company doing all that. It's about Harness Racing Australia, HRV, Harness Racing New South Wales. Some exciting stuff you see that happens in Brisbane. Exciting stuff in WA. They're pretty innovative in New Zealand. I think the Southern Hemisphere has got some good minds involved, and look, some of the initiatives on rehoming and stuff that's happening at Tamworth, I see, which is right alongside where we sell our performance horses. There's a lot of stuff happening in the sport at the moment, which is good.
Rightio. Go back a step. Harness Racing New South Wales. I'm a hero ambassador. My wife and daughter are actually retrainers, and it's a key component of harness racing to growing it. You've got on board with Harness Racing New South Wales, and I'm looking forward to this. COVID pending, hopefully I will be at Tamworth. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to go back onto that, just a quick discussion on that in a sec. But you've come up with an idea for rehoming the Standardbreds with Harness Racing New South Wales, and I think this is sensational, and it could open a bit of a Pandora's box in a way, if you like, as well, going forward.
Mate, look, we spoke with the New South Wales guys. Peter Nugent, who chairs that rehoming piece for them, and I see the platform of Nutrien at our classic sale at Tamworth, which is, it's a 10 million plus sale. It's 600 performance horses. It's everyone from the performance horse industry. Nearly 65% of the horses go to the Territory or Queensland. We've thrown the idea, if we can get half a dozen quality geldings, give them to some of the top people that I know to retrain those horses. We're going to showcase them at Tamworth, offer them for sale, and have a charity draft where they'll chase a few dairy potties round after 10 or 12 weeks with these guys. But I've spoken to some quality people. Like one of my mates, a fellow called Scott Bandy. He's 4 times Mantra Snow River champion. He was multiple saddle bronc champion in Australia. He was runner-up at the Warwick Gold Cup, which is the Melbourne Cup of the sport. He won the Willinga Park Cutout, which is a $10,000 cutout a couple of years ago. He runs Mount Falcon Station at Corriol. And I said, mate, if I was to get you Standardbred, what would you do? He said, mate, I'll have him as a pack saddle horse up in the hills. I'll have him mustering. I'll have dogs, stock whips. He said, I'll have the horse jumping. And I said, would you take it? He said, mate, HRNSW's team have offered to pay him. He said, mate, pleased to get some recognition for our effort, but get the horse here as soon as you can. The more time I spend with him, the more I get to know him, and the better product I can get. And some of the biggest pastoral stations in Queensland and the Territory have expressed real interest in trying some of these rehome geldings up in that market, where they're saying, look, they've got to be able to stamina run 20 Ks of mustering a day. They've got to be safe, and because of health and safety, a lot of kids out of the cities, Brisbane and Sydney, Melbourne, that go for a gap year in the northern pastoral properties for a year as a jackaroo, jillaroo, and a lot of those guys or girls need quality safe horses. A lot of the stock, they're chopper mustered to get them into a group. Then it's a 20-25k walk or trot back to town or back to the yard. So I think the Standardbred's going to really open some eyes, and we've got some media around it, and I think it's something that it's fun, mate. That'll be a lot of fun, and I've got 6 of the best men and women in the country that don't just have a horse, and if it doesn't work, throw it on the stock whip and discard and go again. These guys and girls actually work out a horse, and they're the best on their back men and women in the country. There's none better. And mate, every one of them just can't wait to get hold of them and just say, look, we want to understand them better. What do you want us to do? I've got a mate of mine that ran the Outback Spectacular on the Gold Coast. He had 4 out of 12 horses in the final of the 2019 Magic Millions. He broke in. Like, he's a thoroughbred breaker. He's a director of the Australian Stockless Society. He's one of the best showmen you've ever seen. Challenge competitor. And he said, mate, I'll get a bit of beach on the Gold Coast and show what these things can do. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to really showcase the breed. And I think that's hopefully part of the Nutrien, commitment to the Standardbred industry over the next 10 years.
Got a couple more things to discuss. You committed to the 2-year-olds. That part's a given. you've well and truly committed to the 3-year-olds, especially the 3-year-old trotters off the back of harassed trotters, with a further commitment of the 2-year-olds in the 2023 season. You're looking at making a mare series for the Nutrien and the likes. Now you've committed to retraining, and I apologise to Harness Racing New South Wales. I don't actually know their actual name of their scheme. It might just be, Harness Racing New South Wales rehoming. I'd love for someone to reach out, and I'll do it, definitely promote what they're doing, because I think it's key. It's a great way of growing our industry, because if there is a life after racing for a lot of these horses, it makes our industry a lot more sustainable as well. So I absolutely applaud you, and congratulations in getting behind that. And to your mate that just wants to get the horse there and he's not worried about being refunded, I wouldn't mind going for a ride with him one day, but I hope they realise I can fall off pretty easy. So I'm not that keen on it.
I think on that, mate, is the passion for horse. If you're a horse person, and that's what all of them say. Look, I think for us, it's also from a marketing perspective. This is a real entry level for a lot of people in the performance horse market, and we'll have at Tamworth. We'll have 30,000+ people watching online, but we'll have between 3,000 and 5,000 there every night on the hill, in the stands, actually watching that event. And next thing we talk, a mate of mine bumped into a standardbred breeder here the other day, and they said, something or other, and he said, look, wasn't aware there was even a sport, but a mate of mine's involved. So I think that's where we can really, reintroduce a lot of people. Like, that's what people that came to Tamworth this year said. My grandparents used to race one, or my uncle always had one. We want to reintroduce those people into it, and that's I think that's an exciting aspect of what we're about.
Well, Colts have got me going to Tamworth, COVID pending anyway. Campbells Comments will be bringing plenty of that action, I can promise you that way. There'll be no worries there. I'll be getting the cameras out as often as I can to highlight that. Race dates look like almost been locked in, or we can say they're locked in now for the initial years.
We got a confirmation. John Dunsney and his office have been very helpful, helping us with New South Wales for next year. So we're going to race heats on Tuesday the 16th, I reckon it is, in Menangle, and then the finals will be on the Saturday the 27th of August. So Tuesday the 16th of August, our heats for our 2-year-olds, and finals on the Saturday the 27th of August, which that'll be an exciting part for us too. We're it's a long road when you first put your hand up to start asking the question, can we get a few horses to sell? Then you sell them, then you come back to race them. It's a long-term project.
How long ago was it ready to run? When was that?
That was last November, so the weekend of the 20th last year. So
it's going to be about 18 months to nearly get to your first race, basically, from your sales horses.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So you look at when it's virtually the best part of 2 years. When we first started ringing people and said, look, we want to enter this market. We'd like to tell you who we are, and we had nothing to sell but a promise 12 months ago, and we were very lucky to have some support from a lot of small breeders and a number of larger ones, and we're looking forward to, if you can you're as good as your last start, but if we can do the right job 3 and 4 times in a row, we can hopefully build our brand credibility. That, look, last year was fun. Like I say, people loved the experience, that it wasn't just a put on. It wasn't, we're the new kid on the block and seemed like nice guys, but then second and third years we actually deliver on your promises, and hopefully that's what we can do. But it's a long road. Do
you enjoy it? You actually, I reckon when you started, your grey locks are always grey, but I think they were a little bit thicker. They seem to have thinned out a little bit, but you do love it? Yeah, look,
if I had one criticism, probably the only thing, when I'd actually, I've always started breaking my own horses in. I've sent last season's breakers in. This season's are about to go on a truck. One, it's as wet as hell here, but that's probably the only thing that it does really, to do it properly. You can't do a half-assed job of these things. And mate, there's been a lot of 7-day weeks in the last 12 months to do what needs to be done to get established in this market. And one thing we have got is, look, if I do something, I don't want to do it half baked. And I'm lucky for some of those men and women that are involved with me. And Em's one. Like Em there's never a day in all the time she's worked with us that she said she can't do something. She just doesn't say no, and that's the type of commitment that we've had to put at this if we wanted to enter a new market and earn the respect that we hope to. So yeah, I love the challenge. I'm lucky too because Christy is a harness racing person through her family, so she enjoys the banter. She helps me find a lot of stuff out that I don't understand, or talk to cousins or uncles or family to try and fill in some gaps, and that's probably the other thing. It's something her mum really enjoys, the harness racing scene too. So to have that dialogue in the house makes it bearable for them, because it is agency. The lifestyle I lead it does encroach on the home a fair bit. So you want to hopefully do something that they enjoy. Horses is one of them.
I know you and I have a 5-minute conversation, and until one of our batteries dies, we don't hang up. So it can be a little bit like that, mate. It is a huge team effort, and this is a team. They're all here on shot. And as I said, I'm definitely not in that picture, but that is the Nutrien brand. Basically, is you are a team, aren't you? You're in it for the long haul. You're a big team, but you're all in it.
And not a stage, but you can see above my head, that's actually one of our Tamworth team shots above my head in the office at home. That's who we are, and that is that brand. Like we put our heart in our sleeve for our clients, and we'll be judged on the result. And it's that sales. We're coming up 15 years old this year, and it was 120 horses 15 years ago, and we'll knock back over 200 and take 650. So it's it's been a huge positive influence on the performance horse industry. So I'd hope in 14 years time we're sitting back and saying, look, gee, the Nutrien teams help make a positive impact on harness racing in Australia. To get
you and I sitting the way we do, I've actually had to crop part of that photo out, and working it out, I've cropped out a good third of all the crew in it. So anyone that's sitting there and says, oh yeah, there's not a bad group of people, there is seriously another third still in it. But we could talk for ages. Basically, website's going to be up and done shortly. Entries will open at the end of August for the sales coming up. Harasta Trotters have got on board. I've got to make sure I put it in the camera the right way, even though that's a wrong hat. But and look, I'll say it too. They've come on board as a sponsor of Campbells Comments as well. So yep, they definitely get that bit of a bang for their buck. Commitment from Harasta Trotters with the 3-year-old trotters, and there's a little bit more going on behind the scenes there as well. So there is a lot going on. We've got our spring online sale, ready to run sale. We're going to have a sale every quarter as well. There is a lot going to happen.
Yeah, and with that, the ready to run, like we said, we bumped into your business because of circumstance, and we couldn't, border restrictions and COVID last year, and we're going to go down that same track. We'll run some horses up in New South Wales and definitely Shepparton for Victoria, and I think hopefully COVID allows us to actually throw a couple of sausages and a piece of bread and actually put a barbecue and make more people actually come onto the track the day we actually run those horses up and physically see them. But we'll make sure we deliver a better online product so people can make an informed decision. But it's the idea that we have it on the weekend of the 20th, which is the Breeders' Crown weekend final. So hopefully we'd have a big screen at Melton would be the idea. We'd be able to actually interact over that weekend and talk about some of those horses we've got. But no, September's our next online one. It won't be a massive number, but it's part of our start to try and roll those out every quarter. Main thing to remember, if you do buy a yearling out of that sale, or weanling/yearling, and you want to pay it up, we've made that a part of that spring sale, and we'll continue to get feedback. We'll do what the industry asks us to do. Absolutely.
Now, anyone that wants to get in touch with anyone, the numbers are there on screen now. Mark Barton's phone number, Ian Carmichael, who is based here in Bendigo. A lot of people know Ian, but he gets around all the way around Victoria. Darby Smith and M. Yo. Please feel free. Their phone numbers are there. That's the numbers to get in touch with them. So they're all there on the screen. And if you can't, you go to Nutrien. I'm going to be in trouble.com.
Yeah, Nutrien Equine.
Nutrien Equine, that's right. Yeah.
.com.au.
It just left me for the minute, but that's okay. So so make sure you go there to ask and finalise any questions. It's not going to be our last interview, and it's certainly not an interview to try and rival the one of APG. Is actually where Nutrien are at. It's an honest honest one. It's where you guys are at and going forward. But like I say, keep looking forward to what's going on. The spring sale, ready to run. I've got some promotional ideas lined up as well. So it's going to be onwards and upwards, Bardo.
Yeah, and like I say, mate, this next crop of yearlings, what we see is 2023 is, we'll get it ratified, but we'll be able to come out with, a race series for 2023 of over 900,000 in our second year, and mate, we're actually we're proud of that number. It's a solid number. It shows a lot of commitment from a lot of people that supported us last year, and with Pat being able to help us with these 2-year-old trotters, which we'll announce it once we've had the tick of approval from Harness Racing Victoria. Mate, it'll be an interesting, busy next 6 months. We're going to get to work and look around. Like I said to you, mate, our next job for us is, let's see how some of our last lot of graduates, how they're coming along in their second and third preps, or second preps, a lot of them now. And I think that's the exciting thing too. We're not talking about what might be. We're actually starting to actually get in touch with what's actually happened and tangible things. And we'll showcase some of those horses where we've got halves or full siblings coming through for next year. So I think that's, for us, getting to know some of these mare families and some of the horses racing is a lot of fun.
Anyone out there that does have one of the graduates from the last year's sale, wants to promote what they're doing, if you're a young trainer and you want to get your brand out there as well, by all means, just reach out to me, because it'll be a win-win, because we want to promote the horses that the breeders have sold in a good light too. So if people want to get in touch with Campbell's Comments, especially here in Victoria, New South Wales, unfortunately, guys, it's a bit hard. I can't do a lot about that until things change. But in Victoria, please reach out. I'll try and do something, as I say, win-win for everyone.
One last one, mate, just talking about rehoming. If you've got a gelding 14-3 to 15-3, 3 to 8 years old, that you think is a typey, pliable-minded horse that can actually, be a showcase, let us know if there's one out there that we could, use to showcase the breed. But also those under, 3 to 9 year old mares. If you've got a filly or a mare that doesn't belong on the track, with breeding season coming up, our performance horse guys, I could use another 40 or 50 recip mares where we could give them a really good home in that performance horse market, in particularly New South Wales. I've got three vets or breeding farms that are desperately looking for quality off the track or started young fillies or mares that would suit that to go into rehoming into the breeding stable.
You covered everything, Bardo. You've done a good job, mate.
Tried to.
I'll throw the team photo up. I'm going to say thank you very much, mate. Well done. I'll put this out. This will go up in a minute, and as I said, it's been recorded. But appreciate it. Won't be our last one. Anyone's got any questions, fire them to Campbell's Comments or get in touch with the guys as well. Mark Barton, thank you very much, mate.
My pleasure, mate. Great to have a chat.